Alright, so the simplest thing that I could find for these nippers, file, polishing shtick. I'll put a link to all these in the description. So I grabbed two pieces because the process is a little different. We have a lighter piece, which is a lot easier to file with glass files, and a gray metal-ish piece, because the darker colors I noticed you gotta be a lot more careful with them. So the cutting process is going to be the same. You're going to take your nippers, and what I've been doing is I cut them, give them a little bit of space. That one might not work so well because it's so small, but give them a little bit of space so that you have actually something to file off, because you don't want to give it stress marks. So that one was a little close cut there, just because it had all them little points to it. But now you can see we have some nubs that we can work with. So the lighter pieces are super easy because the fact they're light and you don't see the stress marks as bad on them. This is I want to say it was like a $6 glass file on Amazon. It comes in a pack of 2. So the easiest way that I've been doing it is I've been figuring out like what angle obviously the part sits on. So this is kind of sloped here, and just try to line the file up with that, and just go over it a couple of times very lightly. Try to level out the bottom too, because it will add, when you file it, it will put like a little bit of leftover plastic in this direction. So now we have a piece. If my camera will focus. That is pretty smooth right there. You can still see some plastic sticking up from where the nub was at, but just go over it gently again. And that's where your polishing thing comes in handy. It's got all these different pads on it of varying I guess coarseness. It's like sandpaper, but it's more rubbery. Now I'm not entirely sure exactly what the order is. I kind of just mess with it every single time. I try to go from most resistance to least resistance, starting with this pad, then this one, then this one, because this is more like rubbery, and this puts like a sleek polished like finish to it. So I just rub it, kind of go around, you know. I'll do that for all of them. Feel it as I'm going to make sure it's flat and smooth. And then use the polishing side to give it more of a sleek, shiny finish. So you can't see it too well on the light one. This is why I grabbed a darker piece as well. But, focus camera, you silly boy. Well, anyway, you can see this nub still here. This is ridiculous. There we go, sort of. So you can see this nub still here. You can see this one is completely gone, completely smooth. Same for back here. There's another one there. We'll do that one since that one's pretty big. And I kind of do it lightly and check on it every time because I don't want to eat away too much. Not too bad. Definitely flat. Same process again. Just to smooth it out, give it that shine. Some parts definitely will need more of a polish than others. Some parts are much easier. If you notice, I run my my fingernails across it a lot because I can feel if there's a groove or a bump still. But yeah. So you can't see it very well, but definitely flat. If you could notice the nub before, you definitely can't now. We'll just leave that one because it's not very important, and we'll move on to the gray piece. So, gray pieces. I grabbed some bigger ones so it's a little easier to work with. Like I said before, you're going to want to cut it to where you have some space to work with, so very obvious nub. If you cut too close, rather than getting a nub, you'll get a stress mark. And stress marks are bends in the plastic, which make it, I mean, you really can't do anything about it. Nubs you can sand off and polish. Stress marks you can't do anything about. Alright. Now we have our piece with some very obvious, I don't know what the hell that is, but very obvious nubs. And we'll start on this flat piece here. The wings are going to be a little harder because of they're thin, the angle of them, whatever, you know. So the gray parts and the darker parts, it's the same with the colors. I try to be very, very careful to only get the nub. There's a good chance you'll still end up with some like scrape marks on it or something. But generally speaking, you can get it pretty clean. And I might have made these nubs a little big just for the sake of showing how to do it, but because really they can be pretty small. As long as you don't cut too close to the plastic and get a stress mark, you'll be fine. And as you can see, it's coming along. It's obviously white and scratched, but it's coming along. It's almost flat. The gray parts have been a giant pain in my butt. Colored parts I don't really have as much of a problem with, but these gray parts seem to want to just not look super clean when you're done with them. And I'm sure there's some hidden technique that I haven't figured out yet. But you can see as we get closer to the part, you can actually see the original color of it poking through. A lot of this stuff right here is dust and stuff we can polish off. Still pretty risen there. And like I said, doing grays is my least favorite part because if you're not careful, and I'm being incredibly not careful with this right now just for the sake of getting this nub off, but if you're not careful, you can definitely scrape these parts up. The God Gundam I'm working on right now is incredibly clean because I spent well over an hour sanding and polishing just his backpack. Took me 57 minutes, I think, is what I have it marked down for. So I'm doing it quickly right now, and it's sloppy because of it. But I'm not trying to make an hour-long video. And we'll just touch her up, see how she looks. Probably not going to look super spectacular. But she's definitely looking much, much cleaner. Couple of little scratches because I wasn't being too careful, but as you can see, we do still have a nub here. This is an angled part, so I'm gonna do her flat, then do the other side. But just like with all things, the more time you put into it and the more care you put into it, the better it's gonna come out. Conveniently, this is a spare part, so I'm not too concerned about how much I mess it up. And it doesn't hurt to just polish it periodically as you're going along, because that way you can see what you need to work on, where it needs to be at, etc., etc. And, you know, she's coming along very, very carefully. Could use some more polishing for sure. If you actually sit down here on these little scratch marks and you really just polish the crap out of it, they will go away. Like I said, I'm being a little sloppy here just because I'm trying to get, you know, the process shown rather than just the final product. The final product will take hours and hours of doing this and working on it just to make it look as clean as possible. Actually, you know, while I'm here, I will just show you the backpack to the God Gundam I've been working on. Super duper clean. I have one blemish on it that I can find, and it's on this side, I believe. Yep, right there. Right in the wing. That's the only blemish I could see, and I found it after I built the thing. But as you can see, no nubs on it anywhere. No scratches, no nothing. It's just got a preliminary coat of panel lining on it. I'm gonna do another lining coat after I'm done building the whole kit. But yes, as you can see, there's only a single mark just because I overlooked it. So if you put time into it, you can definitely get some really, really quality stuff. But this piece took me, like I said, 57 or so minutes to just assemble. This is, if you look in the HG God Gundam kit, this is step 1 and 2, is doing this thing. So, if you're doing it quickly, you will end up with parts that look like this. Though it's not super noticeable, it is definitely noticeable. And someone who's actively looking will find it. This, on the other hand, took a very, very long time. And if you take a very, very long time and be very, very careful, you will get some really clean parts doing it this way. As much as I'd like to get that last nub off there, I mean, maybe I will. I don't know. I was going to say I'll cut this now, but I'm not. I'm gonna try to get that off there. Though she is looking a little scratchy because I'm not being careful. And when I say be careful, I mean like long, slow, check it every time, polish it all the time. You know, really, really put work into it to make sure, you know, it's coming along. And like I said, that's not too bad. I mean, I probably, if this was the actual piece I was going to put on my Zerakiel, I would probably sit here and grind this for an hour. You know, I'd make sure there's no blemish, I'd make sure there's no scratches, I'd polish it like crazy so it's smooth. But for a test piece, good to show you the process. And I'll you'll see if you watch my God Gundam. I'm shooting the video for it right now. If you watch the video of that when it's completed, you will see how actually long it takes to do this to make it look good, because I'm shooting the entire building process, and I'll probably put it at like ×2 speed, because with one piece taking an hour already, it's gonna be a long video. Maybe I'll do it in parts. I don't know. But that's that. That's as simple as it is. All you need is a polishing tool and a glass file is perfect. You can use the nail files. The kit that this comes in comes with a nail file, but I think they're too coarse and rough, and these just clean off nubs and don't harm the plastic very much at all. So definitely would recommend, and they are dirt cheap.